Which man, did you see the Kendrick Lamar has this Spotify I guess it's like a series or whatnot. Anyways, highlighting To Pimp a Butterfly.
Fascinating.
I'm gonna pull it up, man. You know what I'm saying? Just so
I,
that people can talk about
I'm
it.
sorry I didn't say it like that.
It-
Like, I mean,
Let me pull it up real quick.
you meant like, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it says Kendrick Lamar's Spotify podcast premieres tomorrow. Um,
Is this a
let's see.
regular thing?
I think it's like a series, but let me see.
Hmm.
Let's see. Is that okay? Let me get the everything right. Yeah, it says this was Variety, by the way. It said, and what may be a case of unfortunate timing, Kendrick Lamar will be appearing in an extended Spotify podcast series that examines his classic 2015 album To Pimp a Butterfly, premiering Wednesday, February 16th. The show was actually announced, at the beginning of January, but it debuts in the wake of the firestorm of controversy around the company's stance on Joe Rogan's podcast spreading, COVID-19 misinformation and his frequent past use of racial slurs in the program, blah, blah, blah. Reps for Lamar didn't immediately respond to Variety and requests for comments. However, the series premieres follows Lamar's appearance in the Super Bowl, where many fans notice his absence and more controversial lyrics of his song "All Right." Yeah, so they're going in a whole blurb about that. But what's this whole thing about? Asked directly by TMZ on Monday about the lyric omission of Dr. Dre, and they're talking about that. What is this podcast about? Okay. I think they're
So,
not going to say anything about this until the end of it. Okay, here it is. The
what time is the podcast on Wednesday?
it probably is just live now, so people can go listen to it now. But the five-part podcast will appear on Spotify's The Big Hit Show, a series hosted by music journalist Alex Papadopoulos. That says will
No.
take listeners on the epic journey in spans of genres, mediums, and generations to explore what happened when widely successful pieces of pop culture get so big that it changes the world. The series examines the Twilight book. Oh, it's talking about Twilight. What is this about? The series was produced by former President and First Lady Barack and Michelle Obama's Higher Ground Media Company and features a clip of Lamar and two album guests, P-Funk founder George Clinton and rapper Rhapsody. In hip hop, we have this thing with sophomore jinx. I think that's just period, not just hip hop. Lamar says, I took it upon myself to do something that inspires me. Going back into the album, it was me explaining my experience and what emotions it brought up and experienced it telling them like, yo, this is something bigger than Compton and where I'm from. That's interesting, man. We were just talking about that album last episode, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, we're not going to get any new music from Kendrick Lamar, so what we are going to get
So we're
is
getting
Kendrick.
podcast breakdowns instead of new music.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what
gonna get
I heard
a
about.
five-part series of Kendrick Lamar talking about an album that he never deemed classic. I've never heard him say this about To Pimp a Butterfly. I remember him on air with Big Boy ranking it number 3 in his catalog. He said Good Kid, Mad City. He said Damn, and then he said To Pimp a Butterfly, and I think he said Section 80 after that. Um, yeah, man, this is not a good sign for his new music, man. I think we're getting into classic mode with Kendrick now. Like he's acting like he's a has-been artist or something.
Well, let's unpack a couple of things. First of all, there's still no music, but there's podcasts going on.
Yeah.
I want to question, and I want you to listen to what I'm saying, because this is the part why I question doing a podcast on To Pimp a Butterfly. This year is the 10-year anniversary of Good Kid, Mad City. This year is 2022. Good Kid, Mad City came out right around my 30th birthday. I'm 40 now. Good Kid, Mad City came out right after I turned 30. It's like October, like my birthday was October 2nd. It's like a week or two after Good Kid, Mad City was out. I feel like in my head, why is the build out for a podcast not being built around your seminal record that you released literally a decade? Because that's usually when we cycle stuff and get into these habits. We're cycling in and doing a podcast about a record that's 7 years old when your 10-year classic album is coming up. It just seems a little misplaced to
I
me
know
about
why.
what they're covering if he is covering. It's like To Pimp a Butterfly is 7 years old. Good Kid, Mad City is 10 years old this year. And if you're releasing new music this summer or fall going into, it would make sense to kind of steamroll people into the nostalgia
I
of
know
10
why.
years ago of Good Kid, Mad City, rather than to, wax this, as you would quote, Mike, artsy fartsy stuff about To Pimp a Butterfly. I just think it's a little misplaced.
I know why. All right is why. I think the social climate is why. I think that he has more compelling things that could fit with today's narrative that could be podcasted about, as opposed to Good Kid, Mad City. He could talk about where things were socially. He could talk about, again, it's clear that All Right is his biggest song now, right?
Right. So Good Kid, Mad City came out 10 years ago, Mike. We haven't heard an album from him in 5 years.
Yo,
Think
Henry H wants to know what's the name of your new podcast.
Who?
Somebody in the chat, Henry H. He wants to know what's the name of your new podcast. I guess you said that last episode that you were starting a new podcast.
It's called Mirror Poetics. The high school newspaper me and my friend Andrew ran at West Charlotte was called The Mirror. We ran it together for 2 years. The podcast is called Mirror Poetics. We're actually supposed to record our fourth episode tomorrow at some point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew and I have known each other since we were 15 years old. So, yeah.
You know what? I guess I stand corrected, right? We were talking about Kendrick doesn't have anything to roll out. Eminem was selling spaghetti. Snoop took over Death Row.
Selling to Pimp a Butterfly? Why are you selling to Pimp a Butterfly? Like, Good Kid, Mad City is so easier to sell to your audience. It's so easier to sell in this climate of culture, and it's going on 10 years. It's just, you want to wax poetic about To Pimp a Butterfly. It's just like, okay, I'd rather hear you talk about, what you were thinking when you made Backseat Freestyle or Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. Like, it's going to be more fun and entertaining to hear those stories because the album's more fun and entertaining. Oh, here we go with I guess he is explaining the artsy stuff about To Pimp a Butterfly, I guess, which is dope. But, I mean, Mike, you kind of explained it really well on the album. That's why the album sounds the way that it sounds. It's very well explained, like in the writing, the sentiments being expressed. So it's like I don't know what he's about to bring together because that album is as detailed and as self-effacing as the album's gonna get, even down to the back and forth Tupac conversation. Like what points are he gonna intimate that the album didn't? Because it's one of the few albums that like explains everything kind of for you and leaves it there. What is he gonna talk about?
I don't know what to make of this, honestly. But again, it kind of reiterates my notion or my theory that the music he's making right now must not be hitting.
Right, but here's what I'm saying is you want to know what's more exciting than all that stuff I just named? You're like, yo, what was you and J-Rock doing the night y'all made Money Trees? What was going on in Compton? You feel what I'm saying? That's just more. It's just more.
It makes me feel like, again, that, it's like he's looking back now. And a person at this point in his career, you would think that he would still be looking forward, and he's looking back now, and it's not even, like you said, it's not even an anniversary album. Like, I could see celebrating 10 years of Good Kid, Mad City and keeping it going, like what Jay did in 06 with Reasonable Doubt, right? But, yeah, this just doesn't look good for future music. It's almost like he's hanging it up. We talking about To Pimp a Butterfly now. We talking about an album that you placed third. We're not even talking about, things that you think are your seminal pieces of work unless that has changed.
No, we're talking about stuff that's not that exciting to explain either, though, Mike. Like, are you excited to hear about the tracks from To Pimp a Butterfly, like how they got made? Because it's already kind of like clear and right there for you, kind of very much like It Takes a Nation to Millions. Like Aquemini. It's like, no, it's kind of right there. You can kind of see what they did and how they did it. They put it right there in front of you. What is he going to talk
Dark
about?
Matter says the podcast isn't a hip-hop based podcast, so it's easy to see why it's about To Pimp a Butterfly.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's some insight. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, To Pimp a Butterfly did get the 5 Grammys. But it's I don't know, man. I'll put it this way, and I mean this.
Exciting an album. That's what I mean. So you're doing a podcast. You got to talk about stuff that's kind of like exciting. Like Damn and Good Kid, Mad City are way more exciting to talk about.
I'm not interested in anything Kendrick right now outside of new music.
I mean, truthfully, me either, Mike, because I really don't want to recount a Good Kid, Mad City like that either, because you haven't released an album in 5 years. So I really just want to hear what you got. Because really, what we have now, and this is what we know for certain. Well, so what? Section 80's 2010, Damn's 2016. Well, we only got 6 years worth of recording material.
No, Damn's 2017. I want to say, I feel like Section 80's 11.
You're right. Section 80 is 11. So we got 6. So it still remains the same. We got 6 years worth of recording material out of him. So what I really want from you is more recording material.
Yeah.